Hello beautiful people, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Oluchi Iman. On this channel I share cake business tips, I talk about personal development, entrepreneurship, I do story time, tutorials and vlogs as well, and you are welcome. In today's video I'll be talking about something that is very important. A few bakers have asked me, I know a few bakers have asked me, and I've seen it as a challenge that most bakers have or some bakers have, and it's the issue of spoiled cakes. Yes, we're talking about spoiled cakes today, and I'll be sharing why your cakes are going bad. Someone asked me a few days back, my cakes are going bad, my cakes go bad, my vanilla cakes go bad in like 2 days. I think those were exact questions. If I can find it, I'm going to put it on the screen. But she was asking, and I thought to share it. Now, this is not the first time I'm having that kind of question. That is why I thought to bring it out, because I've also had an experience in this before. So if this is something you're interested in, which I think you should be, you definitely want to keep on watching, because I'll be right back. And you're welcome back. So the first thing I'll be talking about is undercooked cakes. So if your cake is not properly cooked, if your cake is not properly baked, you're most likely going to end up with a spoiled cake, because it might look good when it comes out of the oven, but because it's not been properly cooked, it's not going to last as long, or it's not going to last, or the regular or the normal shelf life supposed to have would be further shortened. That's what I'm trying to explain. So make sure that you bake and bake right. First of all, bake in the right temperature. I've said this before. Get an oven thermometer and bake at the right temperature. Don't bake at a temperature that is too high, and don't bake it up at the temperature that is too low. Bake at the right temperature so that your cakes can be well baked and you don't have anything that is going to cause bacterial growth fast, anything that is going to aid the presence of bacterial growth growing fast. Cake is food, and you know the ingredients you use also have the tendency to affect the cake if not properly baked or used at the right temperatures. So this is one thing you want to put into consideration. Bake your cakes right, bake at the right temperature, and allow it cook properly, allow it cook well before you bring it out of the oven. One thing I was taught when I just started baking was that you should allow the cake stay. Now cakes have you should allow the cake stay. Let me finish the sentence. You should allow the cake stay until you begin to smell or have the aroma of it being done. And if you're a baker, you've been baking for a while, you know that there's a way that cakes smell when it's almost done. True? Yeah, if this is true, let me know in the comments. So you would know. I know that sometimes the books might say bake until it's 30 minutes, bake until it's 45 minutes, bake until 50 to 55 minutes, bake for 1 hour. There are different timings to the baking, but it is best you wait until you begin to smell that nice aroma of well-baked, those tasty yummy cakes, before you open or bring it out of the oven that it is done. Also, when you insert a skewer in, it should come out clean without any batter sticking on it. That is one way you know that your cakes are properly baked, cooked, done, whatever you choose to call it, all right? Now, the second point is this: your cakes are hot. So you're covering your cakes when they're still hot, warm. They are still under the same category. Okay, I would like to put them under the same category. I know hot is different from warm, but if your cakes are hot, your cakes are warm, and you cover it in buttercream, you cover it in fondant, the tendency that it will go bad faster or get spoiled quicker, it's going to be higher. So what you want to do, ensure that you cool your cakes. Cool your cakes, give them time to cool, okay, so that you can bake. You can either bake a day ahead so it has time to cool overnight, or you bake like early in the morning so it has time to cool throughout the day, or maybe in the evening, or for some hours before you decorate in the evening and deliver the following day. Okay, so do not rush. That's why you don't take last minute orders. I know some people will say, oh, put it in the fridge, we'll use fan to cool it and all of that, but you don't want to be caught in such a stressful situation, and you don't want to put your business at risk. You don't want to put the customer at risk. So have ample time to bake your cakes and allow them cool well before you go ahead to decorate. If you decorate while it's still hot, it's going to go bad and it will begin to draw like slime, and you don't want that. Okay, so please allow your cakes cool well. Don't rush your baking. Plan yourself, give yourself ample time, inform your customers so that they can book ahead, and you avoid anything that would make your cakes go bad. The third point is imbalance in recipe. So if your recipe is not balanced, be sure that something would go off, that it will not be the way it's supposed to be, and it will most likely go bad. Now, what do I mean by imbalance in recipe? Probably, you know, baking is a science, baking is an art, baking is a science. So it's just like an equation. So you add 2 cups of sugar to 4 cups of flour. So I'm just trying to just put an example together, please. It's not a recipe, okay? So you know it calls for maybe 2 cups of sugar, 4 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon baking powder, this, and probably you're baking, you get distracted and you don't follow the equation. There is no way you can get the same result. There is no way, I say it again, that you would get the same result, especially when the imbalance is significant. So for example, you're supposed to use like 3 cups of sugar to whatever quantity of flour and butter, and you decide to use 2, or you get distracted, you don't remember, or you decide for whatever reason to reduce it. I'm going to come to that later. Just hang on for a minute, or just hang on for a few minutes. But if you decide to, like, okay, let's say you were supposed to use 4 cups of flour and you cut it down to like 3, or you forgot, or probably you were distracted and you did not use the right thing, somehow you might get away with your cakes getting done, coming out. But when it comes out, if you're a real like you've been in this game for long, you will know. For me, immediately I step into my bakery, if there's something wrong with my cake, I can tell. Is it from a mile, they call it. If I'm standing at the door and I'm looking at my cake, even without cutting through it, I know that there is something that these people omitted, there is something that is wrong, there is something that was not done right, this cake wasn't baked. I can tell by me looking at the face, at the colors of my cake. So please do not get distracted. I know during the lockdown, it was something that I really, not really, when I struggled with it on some occasions, until I decided no more, because I don't want to have issues and I don't want to be wasting ingredients. There's nowhere to buy things from now. Besides, it's expensive, and whose cost is going to bear the cost of the spoiled cakes? So I observed that there were live sessions going on. If you can remember, there were different people going live, teaching, doing things just to keep people busy, enlighten people, keep people entertained and engaged. And I found out that, okay, I'm trying to bake while listening to all these live sessions, and by the time I'm trying to listen and also measure my ingredients or counts, I tend to miss it. What I used to do then would be to pour everything again. If it's 7 cups of flour, I don't mind turning everything out again, just so that I can get it right. So avoid distractions when you're baking, and ensure that you're baking using all your ingredients in the right proportion to avoid spoils, getting cakes that are spoiled. Okay, so the first thing I'll be talking about is the storage temperature. I once had an issue of a spoiled cake way back when I started, and that was what moved me to create or come up with my own vanilla sponge cake recipe, the recipe I just shared. If you've not seen that video, what are you waiting for? Search for it. So it was what moved me to make that recipe. I said I was going to share the story. I don't know if I remember saying that, but what happened was that I made a cake for my husband's nephew, and I was trying to get a feedback then. Oh, how was the cake? Did you enjoy the cake and everything? And there were some funny moves, funny faces, and I was wondering why I wasn't getting the feedback, until someone that was there right in the house said the cake went bad. It got spoiled. And I was trying to find out, oh, what happened? I asked questions. I was trying to ask questions, and I found out that it was left in the car. It was taken to church for celebration, but it was left in the car, I think, until it was time for them to cut it, and then they took it upstairs. I don't just even really understand the story that happened, because it's many years ago. But then I remember being told that it was kept in the car and it was a sunny day. So that kind of thing can make a cake go bad. Heat, cakes and hot temperature, cakes and heat do not go hand in, like they are two opposites. They don't go hand in hand. So if you're not storing your cakes right, probably you're leaving it in the car, or you're leaving it in a room where there's no air, the place is hot, the place is humid, stuffy, and all of that. Probably you want to use this cake on a Wednesday, you baked it on a Monday, you decide, okay, maybe you don't have a fridge, or the power is out, or for some reason you just decide to leave it out, and that place is humid, stuffy, hot, and all of that. Please, you're endangering the life of your cake. That's the best way I just want to put it, so that you can understand. You are going to get a spoiled cake, okay? Because heat cakes don't do well in hot temperature. Like storing your cakes in the car, leaving it in the car for long hours on a sunny day. No, it would not work. So please store it right. store it right. Make sure your room is light, it is airy, or wrap it in a cling film and store it in the freezer until you are ready to use it. The fifth thing I'm talking about is your fillings and your creams. Now, some of us, based on the timing of when they're going to use the cake, when you're going to deliver, when the cake is going to be used, you should be careful of the kind of fillings that you use in between. Okay, jams, fruit fillings, dairy based fillings, those things tend to make your cake go bad faster, especially if they're not stored right, if they're not kept in the fridge, if they're not chilled. So be mindful. Okay, that is why you need to get all the details you can possibly get from your clients as to when they're using the cake, what time, when you're delivering to when they're using the cakes. Like I mentioned in one of my videos, some people just want to avoid disappointments and they tend to request for the cake earlier, like days before they use it. All right, so you want to get proper details, all the complete details, to be sure that you know what you're doing and you know what you're up against. So if they're not going to be using it immediately, or they're going to be using it the following day because they are traveling with it to another state or something, know the kind of fillings you're going to be using in the cake. All right, it matters a great deal. It matters a great deal and it matters a lot. So try to pair your fillings right, get them right. So you can use other safer fillings, things that will not go bad so fast, fillings that will not go bad, or maybe just use your regular buttercream. Try to spice it up with some variety. Try to just make some variety, okay, and avoid fillings if you're not too sure of it. So you would observe that I did not mention milk. I did not mention milk, but I'm going to be mentioning milk now. So people say, it is popularly said and known that cake reduces milk, and it's popularly known that milk reduces the shelf life of your cakes. Okay, but this is not the topmost. This is not the number one point. All these other things that I've mentioned, they are really, really, really important. It is true that dairy has its effect in shortening the shelf life of cake, but I use buttermilk in my cakes. I use milk in my cakes, and my cakes have a good shelf life. So like 3 to 5 weeks. If I keep them out, they are safe, they are fine. An example was my rebranding photo shoot that I did. You know, when I baked that cake, if you've seen my community post, you see how I gave a breakdown. Like 3-4 days after, even after that period that I baked it, the cake was still okay, was still nice. So I use buttermilk in my cakes, and I think that buttermilk works well than using just the regular milk. Please, this is a disclaimer. I think I have not researched, I have not searched for anywhere, but number one, milk will not be my number one reason for cakes going bad, because like I said, I use buttermilk in my cakes. I think the vinegar would have a role to play. If you know more about milks, please let me know. I think the vinegar has a role to play in preserving your cakes. That's why I say use buttermilk, and that is why I'm saying that I use buttermilk in my cakes and they don't go bad as fast. Of course, there are other things that I do when it comes to baking, preservation, like I've mentioned, but my cakes don't go bad because of the milk content. They still have a good enough shelf life, and I don't do preservatives in my cake. I do not use preservatives in my cakes. It's not safe, and I don't do it. Now, this is a bonus point, and I'm sure that some of you might be shocked to hear it. One thing that is making your cake go bad, and I saved the best for last, is the reduction of sugar. So you are reducing your sugar content in your cake. Customers are saying, I'm not a sugar person, I don't want it to be too sweet. Please cut out the sugar, please reduce the sugar, and you follow along. Look, I did it last year, reduced the sugar. I reduced the sugar content because this customers once in a while say, I don't want the cake to be too sweet, please let it not be too sweet, and all of that. Look, what this would do is that it would reduce the shelf life of your cake. Sugar serves as not just a sweetener, but also a preservative. That's why you use sugar in beverages, you use sugar in some types of food, you use sugar as well. Not that you just use it for this reason, but it serves this purpose, preserving your cake. Why? It absorbs the water content and does not give room for microorganisms or bacteria to grow. So when you reduce your sugar, number one, it's going to affect the texture, the structure of a cake. Number two, it's going to reduce the shelf life of your cake. So these days when I hear people say, clients say, I don't want to shoot too much sugar, I'm not a sugar person, please reduce the sugar and all of that, I tell them, it will affect the cake. The cake will not come out well. Okay, so I can't reduce my sugar. And normally my cakes are not so overly sweet. They're not so of course cakes are supposed to be sweet, but they're not overly sweet. But if I now further want to please the clients and go to reduce my sugar, especially to a great deal, it's going to affect my cakes. So the one I did last year, I think it was supposed to be like 3 cups or something, and I put 2 cups. Man, that cake came out a mess, and I had to bake it again. I had to bake afresh. So somebody was asking me on my vanilla cake that I posted, can she reduce the sugar content to a certain level? And this involved like taking about almost, I think, 100 grams out of the sugar content. Look, it's going to affect your cakes. I think that we should learn to work with what we are given, because there are reasons why these things are so. They are recipes. Okay, so even if you want to cut out the sugar content, maybe try it first and see. Actually, don't by looking at it feel, oh, it's going to be too much. So what you want to do is to try it. When you see recipes, you want to try it. Or even if you're cutting out the sugar, maybe by 50 grams, maybe by 30 grams. Do not cut out a whole 100 grams or take out an entire 1 cup. Maybe it calls for 3.5 cups. You're taking out an entire 1 cup. It's going to affect your cake, the structure of your cake, the texture. It's going to mess up everything, because there's an imbalance now in the recipe, and as well, you're going to reduce the shelf life of your cakes. Thank you for coming to my tech talks on why your cakes are going bad so fast. All right, thank you for coming to my tech talk. Sometimes it might be your recipe just acting up, so you might need to change and get another recipe. But I hope that you found this video useful. I hope that it's brought some clarity to you on why your cakes are going bad really fast, or why they're going bad fast. Please, if you have questions, do not forget to drop them in the comments. I'll answer to the best of my ability. And if you found this video useful, like this video right now. If you've not done that, click on the like button and share with those in your caking communities. Share with your friends, share with your colleagues as well. And if you're yet to subscribe, please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on the goodness that I share here, on the knowledge that I share. Until I see you in the next video, I remain your amiable host, Oluchi Imo. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay blessed.